What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 3, Monday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to give you my top DFS picks for this Monday Night Football showdown between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NFL Week 3. Let's take a look at this Monday Night Football showdown between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. So at the quarterback position, I like Daniel Jones from the New York Giants playing the Dallas Cowboys, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Daniel Jones has averaged 15.6 fantasy points per game on the season. And I like this pick because he's getting an average of 8 rush attempts per game. So I like that rushing upside. He's going to be about 50% owned, projected at 16.6 fantasy points here tonight. And he's 9,400 DraftKings salary. Compare that to Cooper Rush, who's 9,600 DraftKings salary. So he's $200 cheaper. Even though they're both basically the same price, I like the rushing upside of Daniel Jones. Now, Vegas thinks there's going to be 39.5 points scored in this game, with the Giants favored by 1. Daniel Jones has scored 13 and 18 fantasy points in the last 2 games. And in those games, he got 10 and 6 rush attempts. So I like Daniel Jones here versus the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So the stud on the slate, Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants. Now Saquon Barkley has averaged 24.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 19.5 rush attempts per game and 5.5 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 83% of the snaps. He's going to be about 70% owned, projected at 19.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,800 DraftKings salary. Saquon Barkley scored 12 and 36 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 21 and 18 rush attempts on top of 4 and 7 pass targets. So he's getting a ton of volume. Clearly the best player in this game. Definitely going to pay up for this guy. Probably a good captain as well. So I like Saquon Barkley here versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now you have a much more difficult decision for the running back for the Dallas Cowboys because they're splitting carries right now between Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. But between these two guys, even though their salary is pretty much the same, their ownership is going to be about the same, I like Ezekiel Elliott. And he's only averaged 5.9 fantasy points per game on the season, but he is getting more touches. Well, the touches are pretty close here. He's averaging 12.5 rush attempts per game and 2 pass targets per game, where Tony Pollard is averaging 7.5 rush attempts per game and 4.5 pass targets per game. So Ezekiel Elliott going to be about 42% owned, on the field for 62% of the snaps. Compare that to Tony Pollard for 48% of the snaps. So I just think a lot of things are going for Ezekiel Elliott here. Even though he's had, his production hasn't been as good as Tony Pollard, but I think the opportunity here for Ezekiel Elliott is better. He's projected at 12.3 fantasy points here tonight. Now, he only scored 6 fantasy points in each of his first 2 games, but he got 15 and 10 rush attempts on top of 2 pass targets in each of those games, and he could break out any given game here. I think he is a much more talented back than Tony Pollard, just needed a couple games to get going. So I like Ezekiel Elliott here versus the New York Giants. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So I like Richie James from the New York Giants, and Richie James has averaged 10.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6 pass targets per game. Now, he's only been on the field for 55% of the snaps. He's projected at 8.7 fantasy points here tonight. But I like this pick because he's only $5,400 DraftKings salary, and he scored 10 and 11 fantasy points in the first 2 games, and he got 6 pass targets in each of those games, even got 1 rush attempt in week 1. So I like Richie James here versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I also like Sterling Shepard from the New York Giants. He's averaged 12.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 33% owned. He's been on the field for 80% of the snaps. He's projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's $7,600 DraftKings salary, and Sterling Shepard scored 9 and 15 fantasy points in the first 2 weeks of the season off of 10 and 4 pass targets. So I like Sterling Shepard here versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, I also like Noah Brown from the Dallas Cowboys. Noah Brown has averaged 16 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 30% owned. He's been on the field for 87% of the snaps, projected at 8.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's $6,800 DraftKings salary, and Noah Brown has scored 20 and 12 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 5 and 9 pass targets. So I like Noah Brown here versus the New York Giants. Now, of course, the stud on the slate is CeeDee Lamb from the Dallas Cowboys. He's averaged 10 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 96% of the snaps, going to be about 50% owned, projected at 14.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's $10,200 DraftKings salary, and CeeDee Lamb has scored 15 and 5 fantasy points in the first 2 games, and he got 11 pass targets in each of those games. So a ton of volume here, although I might use that salary to pay up for Saquon Barkley, and then go ahead and save that salary on those other wide receivers I just mentioned. But CeeDee Lamb could absolutely go off in this game, so you got to consider him. So I like CeeDee Lamb here versus the New York Giants. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. Now, this guy's questionable, so just keep an eye on the injury report here. But if he does play, I like Dalton Schultz for the Dallas Cowboys. And Dalton Schultz has averaged 8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.5 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 95% of the snaps, going to be about 24% owned, projected at 7.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's $6,400 DraftKings salary, and Dalton Schultz has scored 3 and 13 fantasy points in the first 2 games off of 4 and 9 pass targets. So I like Dalton Schultz here versus the New York Giants.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.